Hi, and welcome to another episode of It's Just Racing, hosted by Jim and Jim. I'm Jim.
And I'm Jim.
We're going to talk about last week's racing action. We'll start off with the Craftsman Truck Series at New Hampshire. As usual, Corey Heim was on the pole. There was a wreck on lap 1 to start things off on the right foot when Tanner Gray spun and collected Brent Cruz and Connor Mozak. On the restart, Corey Heim grabbed the lead and led until a lap 33 incident between two people I've never heard of, Taylor Costner and Jason Alexander.
I guess there's a reason you haven't heard of him.
I believe Jason Alexander, wasn't he George Costanza on Seinfeld?
I wouldn't know that.
No, I suppose you're young. Anyhow, Kevin Costner's son and George Costanza crashed. Had a restart. Another wreck. Mike Christopher Jr. Don't know who he is. Got into Christian Eckes, and then Connor Jones also got caught up in it. Guess what? We had a restart.
That typically happens after a caution.
Guess what else happens?
Corey Heim took the lead.
Another crash. Derek White, I have no idea. Isn't he a basketball player?
He plays for the Celtics.
The Celtics, yeah.
They were in New Hampshire, right?
Oh, yeah, maybe he rented a truck for the
weekend.
Season. Derek White hit the wall. The stage ended under caution. It was a pathetic joke of a stage. This usually doesn't happen with the trucks. I was kind of sad. Anyhow, Andres Perez and Brent Cruz tried a little different strategy, did not pit, and started stage 2 up front, where Perez held on to the lead, led almost the whole stage until a caution with 10 to go when Patrick Emmerling spun. Everyone in the top 10 pitted with the exception of Raja Caruth, so they all pitted to flip the stage, but Raja is just looking for points. So Corey Heim led the final 3-lap shootout to win stage 2. Stage 3, Corey Heim led the whole thing till 48 laps to go when Spencer Boyd spun Tyler Tomasi. A lot of guys who don't drive much crashing in this race. Maybe that's why they don't drive much.
Well, NASCAR doesn't have practice anymore, right? So a lot of these guys could just jump in for the race.
I suppose.
So maybe NASCAR should let people practice?
Well, but they're saving money by not practicing. That's it. And yeah, so Boyd and Tomasi crashed. On the restart, another crash. This is pathetic, Truck Series. You can do better. I know you're the bottom rung, but really. This time Matt Crafton, Ben Rhodes, and Tony Breitinger, and no, it was not Tony's fault, before you ask. Another restart. This time they actually were able to not drive into each other, and Corey Heim led the last 33 laps to win his 9th race of the year. I believe that is a...
He's tied with Greg record.
Okay.
They both have 9 wins.
Chandler Smith and Jake Garcia were eliminated from the Craftsman Truck Series playoffs.
Formula 1 was in Azerbaijan this week. They're at Baku. I didn't watch qualifying. I heard it was a mess.
It was a mess.
6 red flags.
Qualifying was longer than the race. It was stupid.
And I guess there was some rain towards the end of qualifying in Q3.
There was.
So the final qualifying results were a little mixed up. Max was on pole, but then Carlos Sainz was starting second in the Williams. Liam Lawson starting third in the Visa Cash App Racing Bowl.
And they were the only two who got the lap in before the rain. And then Max went out right at the end and got his. But the only 2 times that were posted were Sainz and Lawson. So that's why they were up there, because they actually drove.
Some notable drivers out of position. Oscar and Charles both crashed. Lando is not able to capitalize on that, so he was only starting like 7th. So a lot of people out of position in fast cars. On race day, Oscar, he was trying to pass people real fast, and he had a little bit of a false start, um, and then he stopped in the box, and everybody passed him. So then he was last, and then he locked up and went into a wall and was out of the race on lap one. So a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes for the championship leader.
But maybe he got them all out of his system this weekend because he doesn't make mistakes. And to screw up in qualifying and then to screw up the start and then to crash on lap one, that's his mistakes for the year.
But he did get a 5-second penalty for jumping the start, since he was unable to serve that. I thought that it would carry over into a grid penalty, but the official word is that it won't. I guess it was enough of a penalty that he crashed. So no further trouble. Nothing from this week will carry on to Singapore for Oscar Piastri. So that's something to salvage from the weekend at least. That it could have been worse. Fernando Alonso got a little unlucky. I think he was lined up right behind Oscar, and he reacted to Oscar going, and so he got a 5-second penalty for also jumping the start. And he knew that he did it. But when the guy in front of you goes, you're gonna react to that usually. So not much Fernando could really do there. There was a penalty for Alex Albon. He took out Franco Colapinto. Colapinto has not had a good year in Formula One.
Well, and they just announced this last week that he's most likely not going to be in the seat. It's going to be, what's his name, Paul Aaron or something?
Oh, they're going to wreck another young guy's career.
Yeah, so it's not official, but there was this talk this week, and then Colapinto crashes.
But so Albon got a 10-second penalty for being at fault for that incident. Lando had another slow pit stop. I don't know if he's not hitting his marks or if the pit crew is having some troubles over at McLaren, but he had a slow pit stop and lost a couple spots. And Oscar was not in front of him to give any positions back this time, so that really hurt his race. George Russell pulled an overcut on Carlos Sainz to get into second place. No one could touch Max. Max was just in a league by himself without any McLarens to challenge him.
Yeah, it was like old school Max.
Yeah. So Max was able to win the race, and he got the Grand Slam, the 6th of his career, which means he's now tied with Lewis. They each have 6, and the only person with more is Jim Clark, who had 8.
Hope his record never gets broken, but it will.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, and even if it is, he did it in like a 25 race stretch, so I don't think anyone could beat that.
In a car with no seatbelts or anything.
That old Lotus.
4-inch wide tires.
But yeah, so George finished second, and Carlos Sainz got a podium in the Williams. Interestingly, he has more podiums than his Ferrari replacement does. Lewis Hamilton, 0 podiums to this point. So Carlos, he was pretty happy about that.
He was a smooth operator.
He was. Lando tried to make a pass on the last lap, but Yuki Tsunoda was in the points, and he was defending like he knew it. And so Lando only finished 7th. So really, he gave up a lot of points that he could have gained in the fight to be a world champion. Interestingly, all 4 Red Bull cars, or Red Bull and the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls,
because they're not teammates.
All 4 of them scored points. And I saw that was the first time that's happened since Russia in 2020, so 5 years ago. So good job to all the Red Bull drivers.
Lauren Meckies must be doing something right.
Yeah.
Working with the sister team and now up at the big team, and Max is winning again, and Christian Horner got a big fat check today or yesterday, I hear, huh?
Yeah. So now what that does for the championship, Oscar still has a 25-point lead over Lando. Max is still mathematically in it. He's like 70 points back. I did the calculations, and if he wins out, he would need Oscar to finish 3rd or worse in every race. So he does need a little bit of help, and it looks unlikely, but you should never count Max out. especially if McLaren's having problems now, either with the car or the drivers, or
slow
maybe
pit stops, or
yeah.
combination of anything. Who knows?
So it's not over yet for the drivers' championship. For the constructors, McLaren did not. They were not able to clinch the championship, but I mean it's really over. There's a good battle for second. There's 18 points between Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull. So those three will be fighting hard for that because it's a lot of money between those places. Isn't it like 10 million per spot?
10 million a spot, yeah. So if you move up a spot, that's an extra 10 million for the team.
And so Formula One is off next week, but then they'll be back in Singapore.
All right, moving back to fenders and roundy rounds, the taxi cabs of the unnamed Cup Series were at New Hampshire. Joey Logano sat on the pole. That has nothing to do with his sexual preferences. Get that? Talladega Nights reference? Lighten up, man. Come on. Anyhow, and he led the entire stage until Cody Ware got spun by, what's his name? Austin Dillon, with 7 laps to go. Remember that. On the restart, Ryan Blaney grabbed the lead and won the little shootout to win stage 1. Blaney held on to the lead at the start of stage 2 till a caution on lap 82 when Josh Berry got spun after SVG overdrove a turn and hit him in the door, spun him out of top 10. They were like running 5th and 6th or something. Blaney read a book to all of his teammates and said, "Let's do good." And then he led the restart until the most talked about incident of the day. Ty Gibbs spins off the nose of Denny Hamlin and into the wall. Did you hear or see anything while you were down in Indianapolis?
I didn't see anything. I'm not a Ty Gibbs fan, but so I've heard things about it, but I won't say anything because I didn't actually see it. What happened?
Yeah, it was, I don't know. Hamlin could have been a little more patient, in my opinion. Gibbs was kind of driving between 2 lanes, blocking Hamlin and Christopher Bell, so all 3 Gibbs cars. And I think Denny just had enough. I don't think he meant to spin him at all. It was the slightest contact, like just a, "Hey kid, get your ass out of the way," and just move him up a little bit. But he ended up spinning and hitting the wall and almost took out Christopher Bell too. So, yeah. It'd be fun to be a fly on the wall at Grandpa Gibbs's shop there while they have their little drivers meeting. But anyhow, they had a restart and there was another crash. So this time was SVG and Brad Keselowski. Like Keselowski just lost it, hit the wall, and collected SVG and Justin Haley and Daniel Suarez and Kyle Busch, and Christopher Bell couldn't avoid it this time. Chase Briscoe led on the restart. Kyle Larson grabbed the lead about 10 laps in, only to be passed by Joey Logano 4 laps later, who led until a caution for a spin by John Hunter Nemechek. Restart, Logano led and won stage 2. John Hunter Nemechek's been having a pretty good second half of the year. Him and Carson Hocevar have kind of turned it on. So I guess they're not wasted seats. Logano held on to the lead at the start of stage 3 until Ryan Blaney got by him. 74 laps to go, and then green flag pit stop started soon after that. They went through the pit cycle, and Blaney ended up with a 3-second lead over second place. And there was a caution as Cody Ware tried to wreck Austin Dillon in retaliation from their stage 1 incident when Dillon spun Ware. But this was hilarious. So they're racing, and Cody Ware, he just straight up hits him in the left rear, and Dillon didn't move, and Cody Ware spun. It was a pure talent to try to wreck somebody and wreck yourself instead, and the guy you're hitting just keeps on going like nothing happened. Restart with 45 to go. Josh Berry actually had the lead briefly after taking just 2 tires, but Ryan Blaney passed him and went on to collect the win. One other NASCAR note, Randall Burnett is leaving his post as Kyle Busch's crew chief to take the same position for Connor Zilisch at Trackhouse next year. He's been at RCR for 5 years, I believe, and so this makes you wonder: is Kyle Busch going to retire at the end of the year?
I know you think that he should. He's really fallen off the last couple of years.
I think he should have retired when he didn't have a ride at Gibbs anymore. That's just my opinion.
Moving on to Indianapolis. IMSA was at Indianapolis, and so was I.
I was going to say, so were you. You should know this one.
It was a 6-hour race. I was there because the race is being moved to Road America next year, so I had to scout out and see, which days we want to go. There was racing action all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think you'll enjoy the Saturday quite a lot with your Michelin Pilot Challenge, all your Hyundais to cheer for.
Hyundais for the win.
So Acura was on pole overall in their hypercar, but they got DQ'd. Something with the car. It was like the bodywork was not in compliance, so they were just trying to cheat. And so they got DQ'd from qualifying, had to start last. So that's not good, Acura. Don't be pulling those shenanigans. So that gave us a Cadillac 1-2-3 to start the race.
All right, that's what I like to hear.
There's a debris caution early on, lap 2. Somebody's wing mirror, one of the GT cars lost a wing mirror. It was just laying on the front straight, so I had to pick that up. There was another caution, George Kurtz in the LMP2. Seems like he causes a caution every race. They say it's the dentist class now that LMP3 is gone. Anyways, George Kurtz spun and then got beached in the gravel, and so they had to throw a caution 12 minutes in for that. After that, a little bit of a misfortune for the number 80 Mercedes AMG, who had been leading their class. They had a loose wheel, and it fell off. And so there's another caution for that.
Can I sing?
Go ahead.
Pick the fine time to leave me, loose wheel.
It was really a tough day for all of your AMGs. I know you really like the AMG.
It's just a really attractive car.
There was a shiny orange one that you really liked.
Oh, okay. The AMG Mercedes, the Mercedes coupes it's a handsome specimen, and there was one that had a full orange chrome wrap. It was just really slick looking.
Well, I got to see it a lot because I was sitting right by the pit exit, and it got at least 4 drive-through penalties. I just kept seeing it drive by real slow. They lost a couple laps. It was just not their day. So that happened. There's a lot of LMP2 chaos. There were a few cautions. I don't remember which cars or when for all of those, but there were 3 or 4 of them. There was some really good racing in GT Pro between Rexy and one of the Mustangs. Rexy had the lead. They weren't super fast. I know after the race the drivers were upset about the balance of performance because the Porsche is the heaviest car, and they were really struggling for top speed on the front straight. And so they were just getting eaten up by the BMWs and the Mustangs all race.
That's so weird to think, like in real life, that a Porsche is heavier than a BMW or a Mustang.
But anyways, it created some really good racing. There were like 2 hours where it was just Rexy and the number 65 Mustang just going back and forth for the lead, side-by-side racing, really respectful racing, no contact. So I guess the drivers got a little talking to after Road America, and they cleaned up their act. So there weren't very many incidents that were egregious. Yeah, I really enjoyed that racing. Every lap I was watching into turn 1 to see if the Mustang was going to get around. Rexy, I know it was Lauren Heinrich at first, and then Klaus Bachler got in the car. They put on a really stout defense. They didn't have the fastest car, but they really did their best to keep it up there. So I think they did a really nice job driving that car. There was a split fuel strategy in the hypercars, and I was keeping track of the fuel strategies. Cadillac, they were getting the worst fuel mileage. They were running up front, but the Acuras and BMWs were getting like 2 or 3 laps extra on every stint. So that was going to be tough for the Cadillacs. They were going to lose some time on the final stop if it stayed green. So they were trying to push hard to overcome that. There was a late caution with like an hour and 12 minutes left, which is, it's right about where the fuel window is with some yellow flag laps. And it got super interesting at that point. The caution was for the hood of the Inception Ferrari, which just fell off, which it ended up benefiting them. And I don't know what happened. It looked like they just got a little bit of a draft behind an LMP2 and it created that low pressure area and the hood just came off. So if they, I don't know, kind of, we're trying to be sneaky and just unlatch the hood and hope for a caution. Whatever happened, there was a caution, and they were going to run out of fuel, and they were able to pit and then cycle to the lead. So that caution was favorable for the Ferrari. This is the fuel strategy for the hypercars. It was pretty exciting because about half of the cars pitted and half didn't. And we weren't really sure whether they were going to be able to make it to the end. I thought the no-brainer best decision was to pit because you're going to get some caution laps and then going to be pretty close, but I thought they'd be able to make it on fuel. So the Acuras, BMWs, they pitted, the Cadillac stayed out. And I thought that was a mistake for Cadillac. It turned out not to be. After that, let's see. Oh yeah, the Lamborghini, the SC63, which only has 1 race left after it's being scrapped because it's no good. They actually had a really good race going on. They were running in the top 5 all race. At this point, they were 4th. They did come in with about 40 minutes to go under green just to top off because they thought that nobody would make it on fuel. So that kind of put them back down in 10th or 11th, which was not representative of the race. And the Aston Martin Valkyrie did the same. They had been running 5th or 6th, and they came in to top off. And before we get to the rest of the race, I just want to say the Aston Martin Valkyrie, it's a really nice sounding car. It's the reason I chose my seat at the end of the pit lane, so I wanted to hear it accelerating, and I was not disappointed. So just take a minute here to think about the sound of a V12 accelerating.
I like the good old days.
The Whelen Cadillac, that's the red number 31, they were leading, but needed a big fuel save to be able to make it to the end. And the 60 Acura, that's the one that had been on pole but got DQ'd. They were pressuring for the lead. And then it looked like a really good piece of teamwork from Ricky Taylor in the Wayne Taylor Cadillac. Because he was running 3rd and he knew that he wasn't going to make it on fuel. And so he went and he passed for 2nd, and it looked like he backed off a little bit to give the leading Cadillac some room to do the fuel save. So I'm not sure if that's what happened, but that's what it looked like to me at the track. And if it was a winning move from Ricky Taylor. It's a really nice teamwork we like to see. With 9 minutes left, one of the LMP2s backed into the wall and caused a caution. And so I thought it was going to be over at that point, but they actually got it cleaned up pretty quick, and we had a green-white checkered. And those few caution laps at the end were just enough for everybody to make it on fuel, including Ricky Taylor. So he ended up finishing 2nd. But it was a Cadillac 1-2 in the overall. The Whelen Cadillac was piloted by Jack Aitken, Earl Bamber, and Frederick Vesti. So congratulations to them on their first win of the season. That car's first win since firing Pippo Durrani. They've had multiple wins in like the last 8 seasons, so that was just notable that they've had a bit of a drought. And I'm a Pippo fan, so I was over with it.
It seems like perhaps they haven't won since they fired your favorite driver.
In LMP2, it was the TDS racing car who ended up winning. That was driven by Stephen Thomas, Mikkel Jensen, and Hunter McElroy. In GT Pro, It was the Mustang of Mike Rockefeller and Sebastian Priaulx who won. And in GTD, it was that Inception Ferrari. They put another hood on it. They got out there and they had the fuel to make it home for Brendan Arieb, Frederick Schondorf, and Ali Milroy. So that was Imsa at Indianapolis. They've only got one round left, and it's the 10-hour at Road Atlanta in 3 weeks, I think.
So how'd you like it down there?
It was no Road America, but it was a nice track, and I enjoyed the racing.
Yeah, good. But you thought Road America's nicer?
Yeah, the facilities.
Yeah.
There's a lot more good viewing areas.
At Road America?
Yeah.
All right. So next week, we've got Cup and Xfinity at Kansas. The trucks are off. For real, the trucks are off. It is Cup and Xfinity at Kansas. The WEC has the 6 hours of Fuji.
And that's interesting because Toyota's got a big announcement. They've been developing their hydrogen cars and trying to get a prototype to race with a hydrogen fuel cell. And they have announced that they're planning for 2028, so 3 years from now, which is kind of far off, but they've been developing this for years, so I think they can do it. They want to split the cars, so have one normal car and then one hydrogen car run in the top class.
So only one will blow up?
Well, hopefully neither of them will blow up.
Well, I would hope that too, but, remember the Hindenburg.
That was 70 years ago. 80 years ago.
I'm just not convinced yet on this whole hydrogen thing, but we'll see.
I do not share your skepticism.
I
think
know
it's
you're
cool.
excited about it.
Toyota has some cars that they drive in Japan that run on hydrogen. I think BMW does as well.
Well, we have some cars over here that we drive on electricity, and that doesn't mean it's good.
Well, no. Electric cars bad, hydrogen good. I like
nuclear.
Hydrogen. Well, that would be... You can put that in a car.
Okay. Just checking. All right, so that's all we got, and we'll talk to you next week.